Gladiator was the second highest grossing film at the worldwide box office in the year 2000, and it went on to win 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. The film's opening battle sequence was set in Germania, but was actually filmed in Bourne Wood, in Surrey, in England, over the course of 20 days, in January 1999. Today we are at Bourne Wood in Farnham, Surrey, in search of the filming locations used in the epic historical movie Gladiator. This track was laid for the film Children of Men, which was also filmed here. This road was also used in the TV series Band of Brothers. Bourne Wood has appeared in several films, including War Horse, Thor, Wonder Woman, some of the Harry Potter movies, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Captain America, The First Avenger and the Avengers, Age of Ultron. At the top of the hill, the open areas ahead of us, was the location for the Roman legionaries' encampment. Filmmakers spent 6 weeks scouting Roman historic sites across England, Europe, and North Africa, but decided to use living world locations. The opening battle is set in 180 AD. Emperor Marcus Aurelius and his legions were fighting the Germanic tribes along the Danube, who were threatening Rome. The battle takes place near Vindobona. The Germanic tribes had amassed in the forest on the opposite side of a valley to the Roman camp location. Today, Vindobona is located in modern-day Vienna in Austria. Originally, the opening battle scene was going to be filmed at an army base outside Bratislava, in Slovakia. The location was changed when the filming dates were brought forward, which raised concerns that heavy snow would cause delays during a Slovakian winter. In Gladiator, Russell Crowe plays General Maximus Decimus Meridius, who comes from Spain. He commands the Roman Felix Legion. Before Crowe was cast as Maximus, several other actors were considered for the role, which included Antonio Banderas, Mel Gibson, and Tom Cruise. London-based Mill Film created 90 VFX shots for the film, which included increasing the size of the Roman encampment, these interior tent sets were created and shooting was done on location, using natural light wherever possible, to integrate with the outdoor scenes filmed. The production design team furnished inside Marcus Aurelius's campaign tents, evoking a military feel, but with touches of warmth and luxury. Lucilla was the daughter of the emperor and sister to Commodus. Connie Nielsen, who played Lucilla, is a keen historian. She is especially interested in ancient Rome and helped keep the film historically accurate. Costume supervisor Rosemary Burrows set up a costume village which was located close to the camp to dress and make up the actors and extras. The costume villages were centers used to dress, fix the hair and do the makeup for up to 2,000 extras per day. They also included mud baths for the soldiers. Weapons made for the battle used a mixture of materials, including rubber and leather. Metal weapons were used wherever possible for authenticity. There were 10,000 costumes, 20,000 arrows and more than 27,000 pieces of armor made for the film. This area appears to be where the animal pens were located when Russell Crowe spots Commodus Training. Behind this area appears to be the location where Commodus practices his topless sword fighting. Joaquin Phoenix plays Commodus, who became a megalomaniac, fought in gladiatorial games, and whose debauchery was legendary. In reality, Commodus was joint emperor with his father, Marcus Aurelius, between 177 to 180 AD, and sole emperor between 180 to 192 AD. We are now making our way through the rest of the Gladiator Roman encampment. Filming started here in January 1999. A section of the forest was going to be removed, and Scott got permission to burn it down for the film. Gladiator is set at a time when the Roman Empire was nearing the end of a long period of stability, when the empire had expanded and consolidated. At this time, the legions were continuously defending the empire's borders against barbarian attacks from the Parthians, Germans, and Britons. Marcus Aurelius spent the end of his reign securing the northern frontier, trying to keep the Germanic tribes at bay. This escarpment has featured in a number of films, including War Horse, Robin Hood, and Dark Shadows. Beneath the escarpment, we get our first glimpse of the battlefield. The Romans are about to embark upon a great battle against the Germanic tribes near Vindobona on the Limes Germanicus. The Roman emissary, sent to speak to the barbarians, returns. The Roman legions are far outnumbered, but prevail because of their superior discipline and war machines. Bourne Wood has frequently been used as a filming location since 1999, and has been used in film, TV, adverts, and music videos. Bourne Wood has a large heathland clearing surrounded by pine forests. Here is an aerial view of the Gladiator battlefield at Bourne Wood. The escarpment is at the top left. From the escarpment, we are now heading to the viewpoint, where Richard Harris watches the battle unfold. Ridley Scott said, "Every film has its own difficulties built into it. It's to do with creating a team, the choice of the people who are doing things for you, with delegation and making decisions. This wasn't difficult, it was enjoyable." Bourne Woods is run by the Forestry Commission in England, and at the time it was scheduled for deforestation. This battle was one of the most stunning openings to a classical epic ever filmed. It was shot in a jarring and violent manner. Ridley Scott said, "With history your challenge really is to see how accurate you can be. It's to do with research and choosing the right people. How often do you get to build the Colosseum, a North African Roman town, the Forum, or stage the German front on the Danube with thousands of Roman troops fighting the German barbarians? Not very often. I really enjoyed the magnitude of it." Location filming was challenging due to the terrain, the winter conditions, and the intention to burn a large part of the forest during filming. Production designer Arthur Max said, "The weather was a challenge. We were building midwinter in a muddy site full of holes, trying to paint and age our sets in driving horizontal freezing rain. Extras and stunt-men helped recreate 5,000 legionnaires and 10,000 Germanic tribesmen. The numbers were augmented by digital effects. John Nielsen, VFX supervisor, used Ridley Scott's concept sketches to understand where CGI would be required. Ridley Scott's background as an artist meant that he could draw a pen and ink pre-production sketch for each key shot to capture his vision. Scott then spent several months working with artist Sylvan Despretz, who used Scott's sketches from which to create the storyboards. Mill Studios in England worked on the battle to show the might of the Roman army and to enhance the pyrotechnic effects and carnage. The VFX team added catapults, hundreds of flaming arrows fired by Roman archers, and smoke and explosions. During filming, there were 500 extras in a master shot that panned from left to right, filmed with VistaVision. The shot was achieved by tiling 3 locked-off shots together. Mill Film created VFX plates that were sent to Scott in Los Angeles. The time difference created an around-the-clock production line. Mill Film created 90 VFX shots for the film. Mill Films picked up an Oscar at the 73rd Academy Awards for Best Visual Effects for their work on Gladiator. Richard Harris had been due to play Commodus in the 1960s film, The Fall of the Roman Empire, but fell out with the director and was replaced. In reality, Marcus Aurelius Antoninus was Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD. He was the last emperor of the Pax Romana, an age of relative stability for the Roman Empire. Marcus Aurelius held humanitarian principles and made efforts to aid the poor and political criminals. The film takes a few liberties with the character of Marcus Aurelius. At the time, he co-ruled alongside Lucius Verus, his daughter's husband. Much of Marcus' reign was spent waging wars on the empire's borders. He did die on the Danubian frontier, although it was probably from plague. In Gladiator, Emperor Marcus Aurelius chooses Maximus to be his heir over his own son, Commodus. When Commodus learns of his father's plan, he murders him and claims the imperial throne. Commodus then orders the execution of Maximus and his family. This sequence may use a mix of locations at Bourne Woods, including this area which Ridley Scott also used in the film Napoleon. Russell Crowe lost 40 pounds while training for the role, after having to gain 50 pounds for his previous film, The Insider. Crowe was put through a grueling exercise regimen, including serious training in swordsmanship. Crowe's character was invented for the film, but was influenced by several historical figures from ancient Rome. These characters include General Avidius Cassius, who declared himself emperor after hearing rumors of Marcus Aurelius's death, but he was assassinated by his own men. Another real-life person that inspired Maximus was Diocletian, who was the emperor's bodyguard. He became a general and was then named heir before becoming emperor. Maximus was also inspired by the warrior Spartacus. Both were enslaved gladiators and both led revolts against the Roman state. Ridley Scott said of Russell Crowe, "He's naturally very physical, which was a perfect combination for the part." In Gladiator, Maximus defeats the Praetorian Guards, escapes, and races to Spain in an attempt to save his family. This sequence appears to mix a number of locations, including potentially this area, which is located behind the Viewpoint area. Another location potentially used is located behind the Barbarian forest. And finally, this location was also possibly used. It is located south of the open heathland space. From the Viewpoint area, we now move to the track along which Commodus's wagon travels, and Russell Crowe flees after escaping execution. This track runs down into the clearing, where the battle was filmed. This slope was used when Maximus was being taken to be executed and also in his escape. The escape scene may have been filmed at a number of locations. This area is located close to the Barbarian forest. Art director Clifford Robinson did extensive research and created drawings of the vehicles that were built for the film, including Commodus Travel Wagon. The warlike travel wagon wasn't based on any historical examples. It was built from hardwood with steel-rimmed wheels and was drawn by Shire horses. Other wagons built for the film were based upon actual examples of Roman vehicles. This is the track from the Viewpoint that leads down into the open battlefield area. Commodus's wagon had modeled bronze doors, steps that lowered down at the back, and an interior decorated with frescoes, leather, and elaborate metalwork. Clifford Robinson also designed the war machines used in the Germania battle. The travel wagon appears to stop at the bottom of this open area. Commodus then rides through the area. The scene where Russell Crowe watches the Robin before the battle was filmed in this open area. He is highlighted here. Writer David Franzoni wrote the first draft of the screenplay, had been inspired after traveling. He said, "Everywhere I went in Europe, there were arenas." After reading ancient Roman text, Franzoni chose to center the story on Commodus. According to ancient historians, he was strangled by a wrestler. Franzoni's screenplay was also inspired by the Daniel P. Mannix novel, Those About to Die. Writer John Logan was also hired to rewrite the script. He rewrote the first act and decided to kill off Maximus's family, to increase the character's desire for revenge. Crowe said the crew started shooting with about 32 pages. The script was constantly changing and some dialogue was even improvised. John Nielsen recalled Scott wanted the beginning of the film to have a blue cast, with soft, cool northern light. The excellent musical score for Gladiator was composed by Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard, and was conducted by Gavin Greenaway. The raised embankment area beneath the forest viewpoint is where the Roman army position was located. Filming on location took about a month. Russell Crowe's armor was made of foam, which was covered in leather. There were actually 12 sets of armor created for filming, in various stages of wear. The crew needed to train, clothe, with authentic costumes, and equip with weapons, all of the Roman and barbarian extras. Over 2,500 weapons were designed and made for Gladiator by Simon Atherton, the supervising armorer, and his team. During the battle, hundreds of extras were equipped with broadswords, axes, spears, and daggers. Production designer Arthur Max said, "Our biggest challenge was creating all the specialized equipment. Everything had to be made from scratch, and it had to actually work." Fight Master Nicholas Powell personally trained Russell Crowe and spent several weeks with him before principal photography began. Ridley Scott's epic, Gladiator, picked up an impressive 5 awards at the Oscars, including Best Movie and Best Actor for Russell Crowe. Animal trainer Paul Reynolds provided most of the animals and trained the German shepherd who accompanied Maximus into battle. The plan was to use a wolf, but due to rabies restrictions they had to use a dog, which was much easier than the tiger used later in the film.
Action! Ignite!
During the battle, Roman archers would fire thousands of flaming arrows at their barbarian foes. In the battles, Roman artillery used scorpions to fire flaming bolts aimed at piercing catapulted oil-filled pots, which exploded in mid-air, causing flaming oil to rain down onto the enemy. Cliff Robinson designed the full-scale catapults used in the film. 2 Onager-style catapults were built, which each weighed a ton. The catapults were extremely powerful and had to be rehearsed and operated with great care. It was believed that catapults could fire missiles 250 meters, although the machines built for the film only had a range of 150 yards. To achieve this shot, the extras playing the Roman army were filmed, advancing, and then the shot was reversed to give the impression of scale. When the Roman army advances, it marches down this bank to the valley floor and up the opposite bank, heading towards the barbarians. The forest line ahead is where the barbarian army were located. This area has also been used to film episodes of the TV series House of the Dragon and The Witcher. The armies meet just in front of the tree line in this area. The gap between the two ridges within the trees is visible in some of the shots. CGI visual effects were used to augment the real fire and explosions, created by the special effects team. The battle featured Clowe's sword fighting carefully staged and overseen by fight master Nicholas Powell. Powell, who had worked on Braveheart, trained all of the actors and stuntmen, plus the 1,000 extras that took part in this battle. Powell said, "No one knows exactly how they fought in this period." He looked at the weapons, how they might be used, and what looks right. Ridley wanted close fighting, which looks better on screen but has slightly more intrinsic risk, Powell said. They had to concentrate every single time. Shot in a jarring and violent manner, the sequence puts the audience directly in the middle of the battle to feel the raw grit, dirt, and blood. Cinematographer John Matheson used multiple cameras at varied frame rates and a 45-degree shutter, creating stylized visuals for the battle. It is in this area that Russell Crowe, mounted on a horse, charges the barbarian and is dismounted. In Robin Hood, Russell Crowe rode the same horse, George, that he had ridden in Gladiator. Russell Crowe suffered a number of injuries while making the film, including broken bones and tearing both Achilles. One of Russell Crowe's injuries that appears on screen is a cheek wound he sustained when his horse got spooked and took him into a tree. Russell Crowe said of the fight scenes, "I've been picking up injuries since 184 AD, but if you're going to run around with tigers, that's what you get, I suppose." Russell Crowe's stunt double during filming was Stuart Clark, and it was Stuart's hand that appeared in the iconic shot running through the grain.
Now, where's the guy on fire? I think a little higher, don't you? Then you go around Russell.
Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott returned to Bourne Woods in 2009 to film Robin Hood. Here is the tree with the distinctive cut marks. Legendary Irish actor Richard Harris had been acting since the 50s and was twice nominated for a Best Actor Oscar. Some of Richard Harris's most memorable films include This Sporting Life, Cromwell, Camelot, The Field, and Unforgiven. Richard Harris's final physical appearance was as Dumbledore in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
There's no one left to fight, sir.
There's always someone left to fight.
Maximus leads the cavalry charge through a blazing forest, trapping the barbarians between the Roman infantry and cavalry. Gladiator special effects supervisor Neil Courbould won an Oscar for Best Effects. He received a second Oscar for his work on gravity. Courbould's team spent 6 weeks rigging hundreds of yards of steel pipes under the forest floor, into which they pumped gas for the fiery battle. We are now following the track from the sword tree, along which the Roman cavalry appear to have cantered along. The scene where the Roman cavalry meet before the charge may have used a mix of locations. These locations are the wooded area directly behind the sword tree. Bourne Wood was actually used during the Second World War as a searchlight post, and some Canadian soldiers were located in the wood. Alternatively, some scenes may have been shot south of the open battlefield space. Back now to the location behind the sword tree and the barbarian position. Bourne Woods was originally known locally as the Clumps, until the Forestry Commission changed its name in the 1950s. The Clumps may have been written about by Charles Darwin in the appendices of his book, Natural Selection. Neil Courbould created 6 diagonal lines of fire, staggered at intervals. The cavalry appeared to be engulfed by one giant wall of flame. It is here that Joaquin Phoenix, as Commodus, arrives after the battle has finished. Commodus is portrayed as scheming, emotional, and conflicted, but in reality he may not have been very smart and inclined to violent pleasures. Commodus became a megalomaniac, dressed as Hercules, and was involved in gladiatorial games, fighting both men and beasts. Richard Harris said of working on Gladiator, "Every time I'm on a movie set, I'm still in awe."
So much